Hello YouTube, this is Ty376 and welcome back to another edition of Stories from the Friendzone, the segment where we go to the Friendzone subreddit, because there is one. For what reason, I don't know, but we go there and we pick a post, which is usually the first one, and we try to dole out some advice. Usually ends up in me talking to myself for 15 minutes. This broadcast is brought to you by the fact that I saw 50 Shades of Grey, I think yesterday or a couple days ago. I have never read the book before, and of course, everybody knows about 50 Shades of Grey. It's really the new Twilight, and after seeing that, yeah, it's definitely the new Twilight. I went to it kind of, expecting badness and just all around, just horribleness. And the thing is that I actually really love bad movies. I cruise Netflix all the time and try to pick the movie that just seems the shittiest, and when I click play, I just hope for the best and hope that it turns out to be a not shitty movie and actually a good movie. With 50 Shades of Grey, I went to it figuring that it was just going to be a bad movie, and I wasn't trying to expect anything positive out of it. And what I will say is that, yes, it is a shitty movie. There's really shitty dialogue. The guy that plays the main character, he doesn't do a very good job. I think that's just because he's a goody two-shoes or whatever. The woman's performance was fine. Like I said, I didn't read the book, so I have no idea what to compare it to. The good things that I can take away from it, you know what? The music was actually really good. The score for the movie was, it had this sort of like Greek chanty sort of like a Greek choir vibe to it. A lot of this stuff seemed like it came from around that kind of place and era. And the other good thing about it was the shots of Seattle. If you live in Seattle, it just makes our city look beautiful. Our city looks beautiful in the big screen. You get to see the 12th man flag on the Space Needle, and there's a building with a big 12 on it, and it looks really great. And the shots that they use outside of Christian Grey's business or whatever, it's all Seattle, and it looks great. Apart from that, shitty dialogue, perpetuation of abusive relationships, and honestly, the one thing I'll say about that is that it ended quite well. And if it ended just there, and if there wasn't a trilogy, if there weren't like 5 more fucking movies being made where she, ends up marrying the guy who is, really jealous and controlling and almost forces her to sign a contract, the dude's a fucking stalker weirdo who happens to have a lot of money. If it had just ended the way that it ended, which was kind of a cliffhanger, it would be great. There really wouldn't be any perpetuation of abusive relationship stereotypes. It would just be the woman realizing that the dude's a fucking nutcase and deciding to leave the relationship. Basically what the guy does, if no one has seen this or read the book, this guy with a lot of money finds this woman, and he decides to devote his entire life to forcing this woman to sign a contract that's gonna make her do all this fucked up BDSM shit that this guy's into. And along the way, between the time that he presents the contract to her and the time which she ultimately decides to not sign the contract, he constantly pesters her about signing this. When are you gonna sign this? Where are you gonna be tomorrow? Let's go to breakfast. God, I can't even, I couldn't even tell you all the horrible badness that goes on in that film, just in relation to abusive relationships, how guys are supposed to act while trying to seduce women and all that. Honestly, really, if you look at it in that aspect, the woman is actually the only level-headed person throughout the entire film, because she's the one that ultimately decides that Christian Grey is a fucking weirdo and decides to dump his ass. Anyway, now that I've spoiled the movie, we're gonna get onto the fucking Friendzone posts. I'm a girl stuck in the friend zone between my two best friends. Help? Before you write me off as an angsty teenager, hear me out. I'm a high school senior, female, and I've been friends with my best friend, let's call her C, for upwards of 8 years. There's also another guy who I became close with recently, past half year, and let's call him B. I really liked him for about a year, but that was before I really knew him. Now, because of extracurriculars, all three of us became really close. We hang out outside of school every other day. But they have classes with each other, and I don't. C knows I liked B, and still do possibly, and it's confirmed we're going to prom together as friends. Problem is, B likes C. Not to sound salty, but I have no idea why. They're not very compatible romantically and appearance-wise. Maybe I'm just jealous, but that's my true opinion. Anyways, B is confiding in me now about his feelings for my best friend, completely oblivious to the fact that I used to like him. I got over him the first time, but I've started liking him recently up until this whole thing. Now I'm rethinking all our hangouts and memories. I feel like it was all an illusion to impress her. I feel so stupid and foolish for trying to convince myself that he liked me. A lot of my friends told me we'd look really good together, etc., egging me on, I guess, and I just thought I'd be the one he'd end up liking. We're really close now, though, and I don't want to lose him as a friend, but he's turning into this obsessive, erratic, jealous person, always asking about C and if she likes this guy or that, and I can't take it. Just seeing them together rips me apart. I don't know what to do, because they're the two closest friends that I have, and I can't even ask them for advice. Sorry for such a distressing post, but I'm out of ideas. I can't tell anyone about this, and I'm just so lost, and I'm scared that this is turning me into a person I really don't want to be. Jealous, cynical, closed off. Advice? Well, first off, I am going to write you off as an angsty teenager, and yes, you do sound salty and jelly. You know, why are they not compatible? Is C too attractive for B? Is B just kind of, your average guy or whatever, and he deserves, maybe someone kind of along his wavelength? And I'm going to write you off as a, angsty teenager because, you're a high school senior and you don't really know what you're doing in relationships yet. It's not your fault. So what do we do about this situation? Well, I'm wondering if you put this guy in the friend zone first. Yeah, you liked him when you guys first met, and yes, I'm going to put that on him. He's supposed to be making the move to sort of ask you out and sort of, move that relationship along. But at a certain point, as we kind of covered in our last broadcast, is that, if that's not happening, and you really like the guy, you're going to have to make a move. You're going to maybe not even make a move, but just say something that's just so blatant that the dude's going to have to pick up on something to get him to make the move. C knows that you liked B and still do possibly. What does that mean? Does that mean you still possibly like him? What do you mean by you still do possibly like B? Do you like him or do you not like him? I'm teetering on this idea that you actually put this guy in the quote-unquote friend zone, and you kind of want to keep him there. What usually happens with girls that want to do that is, they'll befriend with the guy, they'll be very confused about their feelings for him, especially when there's a new girl coming around, and this girl happens to be just as pretty as me, or maybe a little bit prettier than me, probably showing him, a little bit more affection than I do. And, he's spending a little bit more time with him than I spend time with him. And, why is she doing that? She knows that I like him. I'm supposed to be liking him. That's my guy. But when it really comes down to it, what are you going to do? Are you going to bring it up to him? He's not going to bring it up to you, so why do you even bother with that? I'm wondering if your feelings for him are cropping back up specifically because, you know, he looks like he has a other option. But ultimately, what I'm going to say about this is you really light it up in your last paragraph here. B is turning into this obsessive, erratic, jealous person, always asking about C and if she likes this guy or that. Look, let's be clear here. You don't want to be with a guy like that. I mean, you're not even in a relationship with this guy and you're finding out that he's super jealous, probably a little controlling, constantly trying to find out where C is and, you know, who she's with, who she likes, this and that. Now that is a godsend unto you because you could have been in a relationship with this dude and then figured out that he was a control freak. Fortunately, that's kind of being directed at someone else and you get to see the real side of him, the side of him that is probably very needy, like I said, controlling, trying to figure out, you know, who C likes and you know, where she's at and all this stuff. And think about it this way. Even if he did like you in the past or whatever, maybe you guys could have got something going, but it is apparent now why you guys aren't in a relationship is because the guy, B, was not willing to bring it up. He wasn't willing to ask you out on that date, you know, ask you out for a number. What he probably did was went around to maybe your girlfriends or maybe some of his guy friends and was like, oh, who do you think A likes? Where do you think A is at right now? And how do I get in her pants? And who's she with? This and that. He never brought it up to you because he was busy trying to get information from everybody else on you instead of just going up to you and asking for your number. So really, this is a huge benefit for you because now you don't have to be in a relationship with this Christian Grey, I suppose. And you get to move on and find someone that, you know, is not creepy and needy. And by the way, the thing that makes me think that this guy is actually in the friend zone and you're just trying to keep him there and blah, blah, blah. You guys are going to prom as friends? Are you guys going as a whole group as friends? Or is it you going to the prom with B as friends? Who designated the fact that it was friends? Who asked who out to prom? This is the kind of crucial questions that I need answers to. Alas, you're just a block of text on the internet. And that will do it for us. Thank you for enjoying the 10th edition of Stories from the Friend Zone, and we'll see you next time.